Silence blanketed the Caribbean Sea. Suddenly, the USS Jason Dunham's radar lit up. A faint signal approaching rapidly from the north. But this was no relic. The radar signature was modern, larger. Two Su-30 flankers, Venezuela's most advanced fighter jets, accelerating to 540 knots toward the destroyer. Without a signal, the two jets fired a pair of advanced R-77 air-to-air missiles directly at the USS Jason Dunham, a warship armed with over 90 missiles and layered radar defenses. This was no mere encounter. This was a direct high-tech assault on a U.S. Navy warship patrolling vital oil routes. Immediately, the United States deployed two F-divided by a -18E Super Hornets. Could Venezuela's top-tier Su-30s actually cripple a U.S. warship? Or would their reckless strike unleash a swift and devastating counterattack that would leave everyone stunned? On this channel, we analyze the battles that others are too afraid to show. We break down the tactics, the technology, and the moments that define modern warfare. If you want to understand what really happens when superpowers are challenged, hit that subscribe button right now. You need to see this. 4:37 a.m., 120 nautical miles southeast of Curaçao. The sea was calm. The USS Jason Dunham, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, moved through international waters, guarding one of the busiest oil shipping routes on Earth. Inside the Combat Information Center, CIC, the ship's and Spy-1 radar suddenly flared. A signal, approaching fast. The shape was unmistakable. Su-30s. Venezuela's best. Armed and closing in. Fast approach. Altitude 4,000 feet. Range 35 miles, came the report. A radio hail was sent. No response. Instead, the two fighters accelerated, flying directly toward the destroyer. This was no drill. The bridge didn't hesitate. Condition 2. Weapons ready. On deck, sailors locked into position. Below deck, the Phalanx CIWS spun to life. To attack a U.S. warship in international waters wasn't just defiance. It was a declaration of war. What Venezuela didn't know, what it was about to learn the hard way, was that the Jason Dunham was not just a ship. It was a floating fortress armed with over 90 missiles, layered radar defenses, and a crew trained to strike in 0.8 seconds. 4:49 a.m. 18 nautical miles out. The tension peaked. Radar operators tracked the two Su-30s as they split formation. A classic pincer attack. One dove low, the other climbed high. Target separation confirmed, a petty officer reported. Maintain lock, the combat director replied. At 4:50 a.m., the lead Venezuelan pilot fired. Two R-77 Adder missiles, Russia's answer to the American AMRAAM, streaked toward the destroyer. These were active radar homing missiles, far more dangerous than simple heat seekers. But this is where the outcome began to turn. The Aegis combat system aboard the Jason Dunham had reacted before the crew could blink. 0.8 seconds after launch detection, tracking beams tightened. The ship's powerful SLQ-32V6 electronic warfare suite blasted the missile seekers with blinding digital noise. The R-77s, designed to kill fighters, were now confused by the electronic signature of a warship. They veered off, carving chaotic arcs across the sea before slamming harmlessly into the water. The Aegis system didn't even need to fire an interceptor. The first Su-30 broke hard right. The second jet banked, preparing for a gun run. Its nose dropped. But the Spy-1 radar had already fixed the jet to the inch. The destroyer still did not fire. Rules of engagement bound the captain's hand. The Americans recorded every move. On the bridge, the captain's voice cut through the tension. They've fired. They get no second chance. Below decks, the crew knew the next order would not be defend. It would be eliminate. This is the moment that left everyone stunned. The ambush had failed. The Su-30s, Venezuela's most feared assets, were now just targets. Venezuela had challenged a superpower, believing their best technology was superior. What happened next wasn't a dogfight. It was an execution. Stay with us. 4:55 a.m. The silence shattered. From the CIC, the transmission came through. 3 words, sharp and final: weapons free. Engage hostiles. In that instant, the USS Jason Dunham became vengeance in motion. The 41 Malawian Kwacha's vertical launch system roared open, unleashing 4 RIM 174 Standard Missile 6, SM-6 interceptors, each worth $4.3 million. Climbing at Mach 3.5, slicing through the Caribbean haze like molten spears. Overhead, the commander ordered 2 F divided by a -18E Super Hornets into the fight. At 8,000 feet, the Venezuelan pilots saw the vapor trails too late. Their radar warning receivers screamed red, flooding the cockpits with chaos. They yanked hard on the sticks, desperate to evade, but physics had already taken sides. The first SM-6 struck, a blossom of tungsten fragments. The explosion ripped through the Su-30's right wing, severing the hydraulic lines. The jet spun violently, rolling into a death spiral, trailing black smoke. The second Su-30 tried to fight back. Its advanced Kibini jamming pod spat out false signals. But the Jason Dunham's EW system countered with surgical precision, feeding mirrored echoes straight back. In seconds, the cockpit lights flickered, then died. The 2 F/A-18 Super Hornets arrived just as the second jet began to fall, confirming the kills. At 4:55 a.m., both radar blips vanished. 2 aircraft, 2 pilots, nearly $100 million in advanced hardware, erased in less than 60 seconds. The ocean swallowed the wreckage. On the bridge, the Phalanx guns powered down. No one spoke. There was no triumph, only the grim understanding of what had just occurred. Venezuela had thrown its best punch. The United States replied with a verdict written in supersonic fire. The sea fell silent again. But this was the kind of silence that follows judgment. By sunrise, the battle was over. But the aftershocks had only just begun. At 6 a.m., Venezuela's state media shattered the silence, claiming the U.S. had violated their airspace and destroyed 2 jets. President Maduro appeared on television, denouncing an act of imperial aggression. But 2,000 miles north, the Pentagon was prepared. At 6:31 a.m., the Department of Defense released the full radar logs, encrypted radio recordings, and thermal imagery. The evidence was undeniable. The Venezuelan jets had crossed 12 miles into international airspace. They had fired 2 advanced missiles first. The data hit global media like an explosion. The U.S. Navy immediately reinforced the region. The carrier USS George H.W. Bush redirected its Super Hornet squadrons to patrol the Caribbean. Satellite coverage expanded. Global markets reacted. Crude oil prices surged. Analysts called it the most dangerous standoff in the Western Hemisphere in decades. Inside the Situation Room, a U.S. admiral summed it up: that wasn't an air battle. That was annihilation. By noon, the USS Gravely and USS Porter had joined the Jason Dunham. Together, the 3 destroyers formed a 2,500-ton wall of steel. In Caracas, silence replaced outrage. Venezuelan airbases went dark. The country's remaining Su-30s were grounded indefinitely. The result left everyone stunned. An ambush by 2 of the world's most advanced fighters was defeated without the U.S. destroyer even taking a scratch. The real cost wasn't measured in metal, it was measured in credibility. Venezuela gambled that its best technology could challenge a superpower. It learned instead that distance means nothing to precision. In modern warfare, arrogance burns faster than fuel. We will continue to track these flashpoints. To ensure you never miss a critical analysis of modern defense, Join our community. Subscribe now.